Hey guys, Crazy Postman here. Well, I got a Luba update video for you today. Well, it's not exactly an update. We're going to do a little torture testing. We're going to try out the RTK. Right now, y'all know I have it mounted up on the roof. I'm going to mount it there on the base station, just like any regular person would when they get to their installation. People are worried that the RTK signal can be blocked by the house. So if you see here, the charging station over there there's the house between that and the front yard. So we're going to see if there's any problems. I'm going to go uninstall it from up there on the roof and install it down here, and then we're going to torture test it. But some other comments from the last week was my lube is pretty dirty and I should keep it clean. Maybe that's causing problems. The thing about that is I'm only out here 1 day a week. It mows the other 6 days all by itself. So yes, I can come out here 1 day a week and make sure it's clean, but it's got to do the other 6 days by itself. That's just all there is to it. I haven't actually cleaned it yet. It's not that dusty because it actually rained. The only thing that really matters is making sure there's nothing physically blocking the ultrasonic sensors here. And then back here where the GPS receiver is, I guess maybe some dirt on that area could attenuate the signal. So I got a phone call from my dad earlier this week about the Luba being trapped out in the backyard. And that's not a super uncommon occurrence here on this property. There's tons of trees. There's always limbs down. That's not really Luba's fault. If it gets a limb jammed in its cutting blades, it's going to stop. I can't blame that on Luba. There's just so many trees and so many limbs, it's just tough to keep it cleaned up around here. While my dad was pulling the stick out of Luba's blades way out in the backyard, he said that the little razor blades were not spinning freely. So I flipped the Luba upside down, and you can see it's pretty dirty down here. Lots of caked on grass all over the place. So we're going to clean that up definitely while I'm here. Look at that. That's like a baseball size handful of grass there. So the big problem here is these blades are all gummed up and they're not spinning freely. Now some of them are stuck in the outward section, which is fine because that's where they need to be to cut the grass. Like this one, I can't move it at all. It's completely frozen. But this one here is stuck in an inward direction, so it's effectively not helping cut at all. And I can't, no matter how hard I push on this, I cannot get it to flip around. And there's also another one over here that's kind of stuck facing in. I can't physically move this one either. And that brings us to another problem. The Luba may originally have came with the tool to undo this, but I don't know that. If I've got it, I've lost it. So I tried to keep all the extra supplies in this bag here after I opened it all up. And you can see I do have one of these, but obviously this is for something else as part of the install. I think this was for the RTK screws because this doesn't fit the blades. I did remember to bring the RTK antenna cable, so that's good. But as for the blades, I need to be able to clean those off and free them up, but I don't think I have the proper tool here, so I may have to leave that for another day, even though they look pretty bad. So I found a tool, and the strangest thing, so it fits down here in these, but it doesn't seem to fit in these. It looks like it fits, but then you go to turn it and it strips. So I'm not sure what's going on here. This size fits a lot of things here, like it fits the piece here on the back tires, but I just can't get it to loosen the blades. just looked at all this caked on debris. Look at that. That's like solid. So there's nothing here I can do about the blades today. They're stuck on here. They're either way over tightened or I don't have the right size tool. So we will figure that out eventually. But I'm going to clean this up and then we will start our RTK experiment. All right, so to start this experiment, we're going to need a ladder. You stay here, Duck. We'll have to come back here and visit Robomow because this is where the ladder sits. So here we are out in the front yard. This shouldn't be hard to uninstall because I didn't really install anything properly. It's just sticking in an old satellite antenna pole. So here we are up on the roof. This is all I did. I just literally stuck the RTK pole into the satellite pole and then used some duct tape. So don't necessarily follow my installation instructions. There you go. So you can see what I did. So I just used a bunch of duct tape to make this a little thicker and fit in there snugly. So we will just leave that sitting here for now. So here's the base station. I just walked over here from the roof carrying this thing. All we're gonna do is literally just screw it in there. So there you have it. Now my RTK is installed at the base station. Now what I need to do is get that short power cable and just install it. So we got our cable. It's nice and flexible. It was sitting there in the sun, so nice and limber. We're gonna get this little cable here and we're gonna plug it in right there. Can y'all see that? All right, I heard the click. So now we got a green light up here on the RTK reference station. So now what we need to do, I'm pretty sure we have to let the app know that we moved the reference station because that's going to throw everything off. All right, so here we are in the app. RTK reference station light is solid green. We brought the RTK over here to Luba. That makes its position off by that much. So you can see that's where the Luba thinks it is right now. We need to get this fixed before we can do anything, obviously. Now it knows something's wrong. I have moved the RTK reference station.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
Oh no! I'm gonna have to remap everything now, guys. So it did warn me before it did that. So I had the opportunity to say no. Wow. I just deleted everything. All 3 acres of map here on the property. That makes for a interesting video for today. So what I'm gonna do is, instead of remapping everything, because I don't, you know, since I have a higher location, I don't want to leave the RTK station here. This was just for the experiment. I want to put it back on the roof because higher is always better. Even if I test this out and it is able to cover the whole yard, I still want to put it back on the roof using the remote kit just in case. But for this experiment, what we'll do is I will just manually drive it around the yard and we can look at the position meter here on the phone to see how the signal is and if I have any trouble. Alright, so y'all are going to have to forgive the sound quality when I'm using this POV camera. I forgot, with this one, I cannot use my wireless mics, so it could get some wind noise. That's my bad. I should have brought the GoPro. Alright, let's get after it. You can see here we are starting fresh on the screen recording, and hopefully the little camera's working up here. We're gonna start by coming out of the charging station, and we're gonna run around to the front side of the house first because that seems to be everybody's biggest concern. So RTK is here. I'm going to go to the front yard on the other side of the house and see if it gets blocked. So now we're on the far side of the house, and you can see the house is between us, obviously, and it seems to be working okay. We'll go get a little closer to the house up here and see if anything bad happens. Here's what the menu looks like when we're basically, that's as bad as it's going to get for obstacles, because the house is between us and it's still working fine. You can see the difference here is really small. We got a 4 positioning status, which is really good. I guess it could get a little worse if we go to that far corner of the yard. Those trees are very thick. That's going to cause a problem with the Luba's GPS, not with the actual RTK signal. But we can go out there and see what happens. So we'll go to the very corner of the yard out here. This is going to affect the GPS signal for sure under here. So let me get under here and we'll look and see how many. Yeah, only 10 satellites. So it's relying heavily on that RTK signal right now. It did recover just a little bit, 17, 16, but this tree is thick. This is a Bradford pear, and these are horrible. We will continue on out to the very corner of the yard. Now, like I said, if it stops, it may be because the GPS signal on Luba is getting blocked. Let's stop right underneath this big tree branch. Ah, look, we lost it. Positioning status 5. And that's really because of this tree here, not because we lost the RTK signal. And if it sits here long enough, it will recover. But yeah, this is a problem for GPS-based robot mowers, because trees and leaves block satellite signal. That's not really breaking news information. So let's go ahead and move Luba out from under here. Get in the open sky out there, and we will receive the position signal again. There we go. We're back to 4. So that was not an RTK failure. That was Luba's GPS being blocked by the massive leaves on this tree. We're in as bad of a position as I am ever going to be from the house, because the house is between the RTK box and Luba, and we're at the far corner of the front yard. The backyard actually does get further away, but there's a line of sight, so it won't be worse than this. Let's go back under these trees and see if we lose GPS again. Normally Luba does not mow under here. I have this excluded. Uh-oh, we picked up a hitchhiker. I have this area excluded from Luba's mowing routine for just this reason. There's lots of limbs that fall out of these sorry Bradford pear trees, and GPS signal is a problem under here. So far we're doing all right. Just the basic leaves, it seems like it can handle that better than the trunks. And Bradford pears have a whole bunch of trunks all over the place. Let's go right over. See, we lost the position sensor again. We lost the position status again. Oh, got it back. And it was just as we went under these heavy trunks. The leaves, while they are affecting it, it seems to be handling it somewhat better. See, we're right, literally right under some leaves here. And we got 18 satellites. 4 position status is what you really want. All right, let's head to the backyard and see what happens. What happened, Duck? You're in your spot. You're where you're supposed to be, but it looks like you had a problem here. Did you pull it up out of the ground? So now here's what we're gonna do. So we remember where the reference station is. We're just gonna go to the very back corner of the yard and just verify that it works. Now this will be in line of sight. It will just be the distance we're checking. So this is the furthest I can get back into my yard. Some trees fell back there and they're in the very corner, and we just kind of just left them be. But here you go. We are as far away as we can get from the reference station here, and no problems whatsoever. Plus we drove under all those trees to get here. So I hope this helps you feel more comfortable about the RTK signal range. On this 3-acre property, I don't seem to have a problem anywhere on the property, even with the house blocking the signal. So let's get on back to the house, and I guess I'll start remapping the whole property. One of the things that's kind of neat, the sensor in the front seems to be disabled whenever you're manually driving, so then you can drive through crazy stuff like this. Oh, bummer. So it's beeping to let you know the sensor is pushed, but I just got it stuck. Let's back out of that and try to do it again. There we go. So it's kind of a 4-wheel drive beast whenever you're manually driving. The motors definitely have the power to do things. It's just that the tires lose traction. Oh, it got high centered. Let's do it in reverse so we don't hit the front bumper. There you go. Oh look, here's another one over here. Oh, crash. Here we go. Full speed. Ah, got the sensor again. All right, here we go. Woo! Now, this is not the recommended use of the Luba. This is just me being silly. There we go. Oh wait, we're driving backwards. Alright, back forward. Now y'all can see that the reference station signal is not an issue. Let's drive all the way around the house one more time, just to be certain. Here we go. We'll drive on the sidewalk. You can see here we got 18 satellites available and 4 positioning, and we are right up against the house. Let's continue our trek around just to make sure. Alright, let's check it again. 18 satellites available, 19, and the house is still between us. Here we go. House is still between us, no problems at all. Let's stop right here. This is the last corner. There you go. No problems at all. I'm going to go ahead and uninstall this reference station, put it back up where it's supposed to be on my house, and then I'm going to remap the entire property. Yay. What a pain in the butt today's going to be, but it's all for science, and it's all for YouTube, so I better get a like and a subscribe out of this one. Let's go ahead and remap everything. So we're going to install this bad boy back up on that pole on the roof, and we're going to leave it there, and then we get to remap the whole dang yard. You're welcome, YouTube. I knew it was going to work, but people didn't believe me. That's all right. Trust but verify. It's good enough for me. Let's plug this bad boy back in. All right, that's it. It'll blink for a bit, and then once it gets a good signal, it'll go solid green. Go connect up the Luba and start remapping the whole yard. Okay, so we got the whole front yard remapped, got the no-go zones. We've done the front part of this backyard, and we've mapped our little no-go zones here around these little flower beds. We haven't really had any trouble mapping. Now, it has stopped quite a few times for poor GPS signal on the Luba's side, but that's not really been an issue. It stops for like just a second, but it just takes a moment before it resumes. It tells you device locked because poor signal, and about the length of time it takes you to read that message, you're back moving again. There was a time in the front yard underneath those Bradford pear trees, remember when we were driving around earlier, it did take about 30 seconds. So we stopped for about 30 seconds under those trees while it figured itself out, and then we were able to continue on. Y'all do me a favor and hit that like button for this episode, and maybe not skip one or two of the commercials. That'd make me feel better if I made more than 25 cents on this episode. Alright, so I think this episode has been quite long enough. I appreciate y'all watching yet another Luba update episode. So far I'm liking it. There's just been a few small bugs here and there with the software. Not a super big deal. It's stopped a few times in the middle of the yard. It's failed to return home a couple of times, but for the most part, it's doing what it's supposed to do. Most of the other errors are related to issues that's kind of my fault, like sticks getting stuck or Luba getting physically stuck because it's on uneven ground. So that's things that it's not really Luba's fault. But we tested the RTK, no problems at all on my 3 acres here. It penetrated the house just fine. I really don't think, if y'all have a regular lot-sized house, that there's anything to worry about with the RTK signal. I think it's plenty robust to be able to penetrate some walls, no big deal. The weak part of the system is the GPS. So you got the trees, you got the leaves, you got the house. The house will block the GPS. If you remember, I had the charger station up against the house at one point, and I couldn't leave it there because I was having GPS issues. And that could have been some of the reasons why it stopped in the middle of the yard or whatever. I have had some charging issues, but they're very intermittent. Like, it doesn't want to connect to the charging pins. But we'll see how that works out. Some people have suggested maybe putting some lawn pavers out front. Maybe it's just not lining up good. So thanks for watching this episode. I will keep an eye on Luba, how it's doing, and occasionally report back to y'all with some Luba information. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.